morning. My name is Sara Newitt, and I'm a freshman at Roosevelt High School. And I'm proud to present to you my 2024 individual performance, Kernel by Kernel. Enjoy! All right, starting now. Dear God, I thank Thee for blessing me with my ancestors who planted Kernel wheat in Russia, the migration of we Russian Mennonites to Kansas 1 score ago, and all the grand adventures I've had here since. I, full of ends, must unpack these significant turning points in Mennonite history. 1823. Well, Father said the Russian government granted my ancestors, expert farmers, religious refuge so they could experiment on Russia's dry, barren steppes. At this time, my ancestors were being heavily persecuted in many places. They refined a cycle of crops, including Krimka wheat from the land's natives. Here are some Krimka kernels. Our diplomat claimed, I have been asked to encourage the state's peasants to use better, fuller seed, including that of the blood-red wheat known as Krimka. This would facilitate the growth of better, fuller kernels. Our state could henceforth trust this crop to change our farming. Oh, how I remember when our hired servants planted the winter wheat in the fall, for come spring, they would harvest it. To give some context, Russia was not seen as an agricultural nation at this time, although they desired to be. The combination of this hardy crop and we, expert farmers, must have excited the Russian government, and Krimka pampered us till some Russians stoutly bewailed, "Ah, ye Russian Mennonites, always so pious and polite, always so favored by the government." Valid, but as tensions increased, thousands of us desired an exodus, one day turning my fate. 1874. My family left Russia, traveling by both train and ship, cramped in our vessel's quarters, seasick by our ship's ongoing motion, and frightened by all the strange people around me. This terror influenced the younger me, but some saw freedom in the promise of America, and with our reputation for fine farming, we Mennonites were fiercely sought after by many places, including America's Kansas, proving the desperate need for clever farmers. A local railway business gave Father a bargain on a homestead in Halstead, Kansas, as verified through this sacred land claim. Now, when we arrived, Kansas was just recovering from a grasshopper invasion that nearly devastated the land. But we brought relief, and not only did we bring our Krimka wheat along with us, but we also spent our many riches on furnishings for our new homes. Now, to us, the Halsteaders were ostentatious knaves, but to them, we were unconventional. Certainly our pacifist beliefs and reluctance to adopt newfangled ways contributed to this. An 1874 Commonwealth issue remarks that our clothing was crude, our conduct pure, and language harsh-sounding. A cultural exchange, turning both worlds around. Attending an American school certainly changed me. Many gave both treasure and service to our cause, trusting in our farming skills and our Krimka. I hope we can repay them by redeeming the Kansas name, but with this land known for crop failures, we'll be busy. It was 1 score ago I first set foot hither to plant blood-red wheat, and nigh as strong as my sacred faith is a faith that our turning point will change Kansas. We came from Russia, unaware that our wheat and farming skills could impact Kansas so greatly. Gymnasium. I'm Sara, your guide today. And this here is our 2024 exhibit, The Turning Points of Krimka. Well, it was 150 years ago that we Mennonites came here with our Krimka. Above all else, we Mennonites settled in a land previously occupied by single adult men. We practiced ideas of frugality and productivity and the atmosphere of partying and profanity. And lastly, we established a crop and a land where seemingly no crops could flourish, driving out anyone who dared attempt to. Now, the Mennonites' religious beliefs were certainly that of controversy. After all, they completely went against the religious norms of the time. But no one could argue that it was the Mennonites' Krimka wheat that contributed to the turning point of Kansas. For by 1878, Kansas was already known as the wheat state, and ample wheat harvest soon became a symbol of the state. This is a drastic turning point from crop failures, certainly changing this nation's mentality. And by 1923, nearly 1/3 of all wheat grown in the U.S. was Krimka. But the turning point of that is less crop diversity found among the Midwest. Slowly making Kansas the breadbasket of the country, Krimka made tasty bread like this. And with our wheat steadily replacing corn in Kansas, a further turning point occurred when millers invested in mills designed for Krimka that could produce quality flour. This proved not only to be a milling turning point for the state, but also an economic turning point for the state. Concurrently, our rights, customs, music, and religious beliefs have made us a cultural turning point for the state. For example, the 100th anniversary of our coming to Kansas excited many celebrations across the state. Never before had Mennonite culture been celebrated so ardently with such gusto. Kansas produced $507 million worth of this staple grain to nourish the Allies, impacting the results of the Great War. Now, we're not just feeding a state, we're feeding the whole world. And with the United States Department of Agriculture's constant support of Krimka, big good factories could trust our flour to change their businesses. And we fed the Industrial Revolution of the 20th century United States, leading to the mass production of on-the-go baked good items. Even today, Krimka's genetic descendants supply megacorps on a regular basis. But all these industrial turning points led to environmental ones, for not all impacts will be positive. For example, many preservationists today link the over-farming of Krimka to the Dust Bowl, and therefore the Great Depression. Moreover, we displaced many indigenous peoples from their sacred lands. From all perspectives, there's corroboration that our Krimka is a turning point in history, in different ways for different people, leaving an astounding economic, sociological, environmental, and cultural impact. The 1870s immigration of we Russian Mennonites to Kansas and the subsequent adoption of Krimka wheat into the Kansas agricultural system pivoted the American mentality towards the state. Krimka isn't just wheat to us Mennonites. It's part of who we are.